Invite Steve Killelea AM, founder and executive chairman of the Institute for Economics and Peace, to the stage to deliver his vote of thanks.
Well, isn't it great to be in a crowd again? How many people here is it the first time they've actually been out in a group this size? For me, it's been fantastic. Actually making new friends. I'm sitting with Helen and Jeremy and Anthony on the other side. But 2 weeks ago, I did my first overseas trip in 2.5 years. And for me, it was just massively energising. Quite jet-lagged tonight, but that's something else. But the first place I went to was Rabat in Morocco, and I was over there working with the UN Office on Counter-Terrorism. Gave an address to about 50 different diplomats, and that was live streamed into the Doha Forum to about 80 different ministers and MPs from African countries. And I thought that was really quite impressive. But what really blew me away was the next day. So I went round and met with a number of the think tanks in Morocco. And I came across one gentleman in particular, and this was just made the hairs on my back stand up. His name was Ahmed Abidi, and he was the president and CEO of the Rabiti Mahamadi Institute. And what they'd done in response to militant Islam was to create a network from 17 different Islamic countries. They included places like Indonesia, Malaysia, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, and many, many more. So they got together a lot of the best thinkers who were progressive. Between the 17 of them then, they took the Islam teachings and the Quran and worked out what they had in common so they could have a unified message they could then push out, which was a message which was progressive into all the Islamic countries. And so this was seeing both Persian and Arabs coming together. And so they distilled it down for everyone in this room. There were things we'd all agree with. So things like the economy, vibrant economy, good law and governance, which should be equitable, at the rights of individuals within those societies, so they be respected, international relationships, which were fair and mutually beneficial, and the concept of generosity, which we find were reflected in Iftar, and which we can see, which we're all here today. And it brings back to a little bit like the window in the heart, because generosity in the end, what happens is when we give to someone else, our hearts open up, and just for a period of time, we get a reflection of the other in us. But it's been a bit said about Rumi, and I'll come back to Rumi. And so if we look at Rumi, what we find is many great sayings, but one of them, which I was discussing with Ahmed in a Rabat, was that Rumi's comment that we're all vessels of love moving inside an ocean of love. And it's, for me, it's really such a touching remark. Because you can see that reflected in all the great religions. We are all interconnected as one. And again, that's back to that window of my heart to, let's say, yours. But on a final note, we come back, we look at the concept of the abstinence. And so we live in Ramadan. We live in a world which is, for all of us here, we've just got pretty much everything we need. But if we went to Africa, for example, and this is literally true, 2 out of every 3 Africans are food insecure. And so I think the idea of abstinence should bring home and drive home to us just how lucky we are to have everything we need. Now, there's been so many thanks to everyone here tonight, and look, it's been a great night. So, look, I'd just like to thank Turtle Damway for his honour of the nation, and also his great didgeridoo playing, really, really good. Ibrahim Kasali for his prayers, and I think we all sort of took in the information he had up there on the background to Ramadan and the fasting. I'd also like to Jeff Lee for his excellent avatar of the minister. I thought that was really good. Stephen Camper for his lovely address. I'd also like to press Rosalind Crocher, who gave me the words for the window to the heart, which I really picked up and run with, so thank you for that, Jocelyn. I'd also like to thank Peter Herkutsu, and by the way, if you want a game of cricket later, mate, we'll just do it out in the foyer, okay? And look, finally, I think I'd like to really thank everyone in the room, but for that, I'd like to thank Ahmad. So, Pollock, so we've known each other, what, a decade now, maybe slightly longer. And for those of you who don't know him intimately, he's got one of the most vibrant, positive characters of anyone I know. And he's just a bundle of energy. And you can see by the people in this room, he's got together just incredible collection of people. But more than that, the people I'd like to thank the most, because any speaker is not a speaker unless he's got a crowd. Otherwise, he's just an empty voice in a room, isn't he? So what I'd like to do is really thank everyone here for coming. And look, I'm looking from one end to the other. It's just great, just absolutely great. So look, I'd like you to put your hands together to thank the speakers, thank Ahmad, and also really to thank yourselves.